Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of whatever this is. First of all, I just want to say a massive thank you for everybody who tuned in last week. We got over 100 views on YouTube, a lot of likes as well. So we really appreciate the effort, and we take that as meaning that you like this format as well. So thanks a million again for that. And if you do enjoy this episode too, you know what to do.
Smash a
Um,
like.
exactly what Hanu said. But we had an eventful first week of the RPL, didn't we, Hanu?
Yeah, it was painful, but it was eventful, that's for sure. Um, yeah, man. Like, do you want to start off with the
Yeah,
RPL or
I guess we'll start from the start. So, the first game of the week, it was a Friday. It was Rostov against Dynamo, and you know we weren't too sure what to expect in that game, but I think everybody kind of tuned into that one because it was the first game of the season. And well, on the first minute, there was an announcement made that none of the players knew about, that no
yeah.
one actually knew about, and that was that Valery Karpin was made the manager of the national team. Now, there was a game still to play, and the Rostov players had no idea that this was going to be announced, and they actually had no idea that this was even a thing. So what we'll do is we'll talk about the games first, and then we'll talk about that appointment afterwards. But
Yeah.
that really set the season off to a really really weird start. But that game, in the end, Dynamo won. They won 2-0. Arsene Zakharyan scored the first goal of the season. 18-year-old wonder kid. I think he's the first. I think he's the first what player in the RPL or the third youngest to score 3 goals or something like that. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think I read something like that. I think so, yeah.
Something along those lines. But then
Something
that was
along those
followed up
lines.
by a goal from Konstantin Tukavin, and they pretty much sailed that game. Hannah, did you watch this one?
I did, man. Rostov looked really, I mean, Dynamo were good, obviously. Balbuena looked good. Put him in my fantasy team. After that, we'll talk about that too. Um, all their new signings were decent, but Rostov just looked really flat and really dead to me. Like even the lineup was just so weird. They didn't have Alisa wasn't even in the squad for some reason. Arnquist was on the bench. Like it just Rostov looked deader than usual. And Karpin was in the stands. Karpin was in the stands first of all. He wasn't even like on the touchline, which was weird. But yeah, it's not a great advert for the new Russian manager to start off the campaign with like such a bland performance. And now they have Zenit to play, which is even worse. We're gonna get into that as well.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that is going to be a very interesting one because notoriously Zuba and Karpin do not like each other.
they don't.
So that will be very very interesting game. But like we said, we're going to talk about that a little bit later. I think we're holding back some of our thoughts right now just because I feel like this game, although it was a good match, was slightly overshadowed by that news.
It was.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next one anyway. Zenit against Himki. Comfortable enough.
Yeah. I don't think so. I think the first half Kimki were really good. Like they were there, and in the second half they just Zenit brought on some changes, and then and that really killed the game off. But I mean, maybe it was Kimki being good, maybe it was Zenit being a bit off the pace. But like this game was an exciting game, I'd say. Um,
It was a decent game, and to be
yeah,
fair, I think that Himki scoring first made it an interesting game. I think that if Zenit had scored first, it would have been just game over from the start. But you know,
yeah,
Kukrachuk scored first. Azmoun came back a couple of minutes later, and then Zenit were looking to their substitutes towards the end of the game, really to score their goals. Um, but I don't know. I didn't feel like it was really ever in doubt.
yeah.
So that's pretty much it. And it's, do you know what? This feels a bit formulaic. I feel like we're going through the games like one by one.
Which one is relevant here? Like,
Yeah, we're kind of just delaying the one that you don't really want to talk about.
exactly.
But
All right. So
we'll talk
let me
about
give
that.
the people a quick breakdown on all the games. Nizhny Sochi, nobody cares. Nizhny won though.
No,
Sochi
no, no.
won
We
great.
do care. We do care because often, look, we had Nizhny at the bottom of our table. They have about 10% of the points needed to be mid-table at this point.
Still be bottom of the table.
I don't know, man.
They're not good. Yeah, CSKA Zabalotny scored on his debut. Alan Zagoyev was man of the match in 2021. And
To be fair though, when he came on, it was a completely different game. Like if you see, like, did you watch that game? No, or yes?
yeah, half-heartedly because I was still
Yeah,
sad.
I don't know. The minute he came on, I just felt like he was controlling the game. Like the game completely changed, and because he got the assist from the corner for Zabalotny,
Yeah.
whole different story. So
No, we know he is a phenomenal player on his day. It's just that his because of injuries and stuff, his day comes really rarely. So yeah, there's that. Then what else do we have? Krilia got off to a losing start. My man's Akhmat played well, to be fair, pressed them really well. Yaya Toure was on the bench celebrating at full time. That's a good start. Ural Krasnodar, Tony Villena had the game of his life. Now, if you watch Tony Villena, right, if you watch the RPL, and this is why I don't like him as a footballer, it's because he takes 500 long shots every single game. He has never attempted a shot from inside the box. I think he has like the highest percentage of shots from outside the box, and none of them go in. But like on that day, both of them went in. So you have to give him credit for that. Cordoba also scored on his debut penalty. It's fair play there.
thought it was a dive. To be honest, I didn't think it was a penalty, but we'll give it to him. It's a first goal in Russia, so
Yeah, we'll give it to him. Then we have Loko Arsenal. We'll get to Loko as well. This is a game that you could talk about, I guess. Arsenal played like they were ahead for 70 minutes, 80 minutes actually, and they got a red card, and then Rifat and Smolov really just turned the game around. So, I mean, yeah, man. Um, you got any thoughts on any of those games? Or do we have to talk about the big one?
not really. I feel like besides maybe Nizhny, there's not really that many surprises outside of the game we're just about to get to.
Yeah.
I feel like you know all the big teams really won, except for your boys. So let's talk about Spartak Moscow. Hanu, nobody in Russia, or in fact the world, was quite as excited for the season as you were.
Yeah, absolutely. I was well hyped. I don't think anybody was as depressed after the game as I was. Well, I was on the floor, man. Read my messages with Kai. I was properly on the floor after this game. And because we had such a phenomenal preseason, now obviously now I know that preseason doesn't mean anything, right? But at the time we were looking rampant. And Ruben were good, to be fair to them. But first of all, that goal that got disallowed, it wasn't a foul. I know Ruben's media team are still trying to make their memes. They're not funny. Um, they just made one like a couple of minutes ago. And it's not, it was a dive. Okay. The man was flying in the air. There was no touch. It was a clear goal from Zigo. That's fine. We got over that, right? Credit to Samoshnikov because that was a great goal. You have to respect that. And that shot that he took like a minute after, which Maximenko saved, that would have been goal of the season. That's probably save of the season. Okay. But, and
Yeah,
then like at that point, right? Ruben had like three chances which hit the side netting in like a minute, and I was like dying at every single one of them. But yeah, and towards the end, I don't know how we didn't score so many chances. The ball just would not go in, and then Zenit won, and they were all being like smug about it on Twitter and stuff. So that really fucked me up for at least 3 days. I've only recovered like yesterday and then better today, but we need a big win against Krilia. And then it's Benfica next week in an exact week's time. Like the game will be on this time next week, so we're not recording on Wednesday. That's for
well,
sure.
yeah, I think we record on Thursday next week. Oh, this one's on Friday. This game.
Yeah, it's just the day
Mm,
after tomorrow. So
okay, right. That'll be an interesting one. I think that Spartak will win. Like if I had to put my money on, I'd actually be fairly confident in putting a lot of money on Spartak in that game because although Karelia are an exciting team, I feel like Spartak's experience is just gonna just roll through them. I expect them to win 3, maybe 4-1.
hopefully, yeah.
I think that'll probably be the case if I had to guess. Now I'd absolutely love for Karelia to come out and win 4-1 or something. But
Yeah,
I just think that that's out of the realm of possibility. But we'll
yeah, no,
see.
that
We'll see.
yeah. No, because the thing is, right, it's super annoying when you build up to the season for months on
Yeah,
Twitter and stuff because you're actually invested in the season. Like the stuff happens to you if the team doesn't win. Whereas with Real Madrid, it's just like, okay, we lost, we're trash.
yeah.
But nothing's happening to me, right? Like it's okay, we just lost. Here you can't tweet for 2 days because the fans are angry, right? So you have to like tread really carefully. You can't do any jokes. Then there's not much to really tweet either. So it's really dead. Um,
These are the days where you
but
find
yeah,
out who's only there for the FBA Dolo and who's there for the results.
exactly. Yeah, who's there
Who's there true and
for
true.
who's there through
Oh,
and
by
through?
the
That
way,
is
actually, you know what? A lot of people were giving me flack for not wearing a Russia jersey last week, so Confederations Cup
yeah.
jersey.
That no,
Hanu,
I respect it. I just have a shirt with like surf waves on it. It's a very basic t-shirt. No, but if I wear the
no
Russian
waves
club
in
jerseys
Moscow.
I would be unemployed if I wore the Russian shirts that I have. So
Well, you know what? Maybe you'll
um,
win the fantasy league and you'll be able to wear something next season.
yeah, those jerseys are nice, man. That Sochi jersey, that's actually that those Puma ones. They were wearing it, I think, against Nizhny and against Kessler, and they're pretty decent. Like I can see why 15 clubs at one time are choosing to go for that pattern.
It's a
And
good one. You think that there'd be more variation to it. You know, like
a lot
it's
of kits came out actually, didn't they? After our thing,
what
like CSKA dropped their kits. I think a couple of other clubs dropped them as well after our segment.
they did. They did. I don't. I think the reason they dropped it after our segment is because they did want to get roasted on the show.
Yeah, probably.
So you know, I'm not gonna go
Yes.
pulling them up now. I'll leave them be for the moment.
Yeah, they're not that good anymore.
No. But I guess we got to go on to the main news of the week, which is that Valery Karpin, Rostov manager, is now also the national team manager until the end of this year. And like we said, this was announced at the start of the Rostov game, which they ended up losing 2-0 at half time and ended up losing the game overall 2-0. He was in the stands, constantly on the phone. I don't know if he was on the phone to someone in the Rostov staff or the Russia team staff, but who knows? But he'll be doing the Rostov job alongside the the national team job, sort of like what Slutsky did back in the day as well. So,
Yeah.
Hanu, what were your first thoughts when you'd heard this news, and what are your thoughts now?
My first thoughts were because like the main thing about this piece of news, right, is that he's only going to be doing it until the end of this calendar year, right? But when I first read that, I was like, wait, what? Is he just going to be there for like a generic contract, like 2 years or whatever? And I was upset. Um, because I don't rate him very highly as a manager. Like his record speaks for himself. You look at Rostov's games, it's win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. It's been that for years. He just signs mad players, develops them. The one good thing about him, right, is that his style of football is decent and that he can develop young players and sell them on. So I guess if you want somebody to transition from Stanny's old style and old players to the new generation, he's not that bad of a shout. But in terms of results, he's not your best bet. But the fact that it's just for this period of 6 months, I feel like is clever because I don't think even if he loses all of his games, I don't think Russia will be in that bad of a spot. Like you can salvage it, so not too much is being lost there. But
Well,
if
the
he
the,
does
the
well,
problem is the problem is if he does terribly, right? Like I see two scenarios. Either he does well and he stays for the World Cup, right, which is next year, or he does badly and we don't get to the World Cup, which is a disaster, right? But
how
in
many?
the scenario where he gets to the World Cup, I feel like he's found out very very quickly at the big stage. That's the issue that I have. Like this isn't a
I can
manager
see
who
that
has
happening. Yeah.
wild experience playing in international competitions as a manager. This isn't someone who got like has been managing top teams or anything. Like you say, his record is win loss win loss. It's not someone who's like trying to keep his like win record up high or anything. It's just a bloke, just a Russian bloke who's a
He is.
decent manager who's quite likable, but probably not good enough for the job.
Yeah, like Russia have 7 games this year, right? That's
Yeah.
actually a lot of games. One of them is against Malta, which you feel like I think even you could lead the team to a victory against Malta, hopefully. Right? Even the average Joe should be able to. Russia should be able to beat them. Then there's two against Cyprus, but there's also 2 games against Croatia. No, actually, he could fuck it up. Yeah, I can see that. Um, but I mean, I
Hanu,
like the.
can I just ask you, just thinking of the game against Malta, right? Because I have this idea in my head, right? If you were to play against Malta, what kind of team would you put out? Would you put out a strong team? Would you put out kind of a weaker team? Like, what would you do? Because you're kind of expected to win either way.
I don't know. I would just put out the team that I like the most, like out of the squad. But I would not include anybody over 30. Probably, I wouldn't play Zuba or any of them. Like the young fellas that are knocking on the door, they are the guys that I'd choose on that. Wouldn't be
That's
the
it.
strongest 11, obviously, but
That's exactly what I was gonna say. I was gonna say if you're trying to win that game, I feel like the big players will be like, who the fuck is this manager? They've literally just brought some random bloke from India to manage us. So
oh, if I was managed,
yeah,
I
yeah,
will.
yeah.
If I
That's
was
what I'm saying.
literally managing
No,
the
no, no, no.
team, no, yeah.
If it's you, like if the players know that okay, this random bloke who has a podcast about Russian football is not the Russian football manager, how do you get them on your
No,
side?
I would literally just for the Malta game.
Yeah,
I would literally tell them to have their day off, like have fun, and I'll choose this bunch of children who are all older than me
yeah.
to yeah play the game. What will you do?
That's exactly what I do because I'd be like, look, the senior players are probably not going to have that much respect for me. But the young players, even if they don't have respect for me, they'll have respect for the position that they're playing for Russia.
Yeah,
So they'll be trying really hard. Whereas, like, someone like Zuba, he might be like, who the fuck is this guy? So,
exactly. Yeah.
you know what I mean? So it's that play of character. But, yeah.
No, but what type of manager would you be though in terms of your like style and shit?
Depends, what do you mean by style? Like, do you mean, like, style of play? Or do you
Like,
mean style of man management or what?
yeah, like that. Like, would you be one of them super disciplined fellas? Would you be like one of them jokey type people? Would you be a tactics merchant? Would you be like Zidane? But like,
See,
your qualities have to reflect in that. Like, of
so
course, there's an ideal.
the thing is, I've actually
Yeah,
coached football. It was kids football, but I've coached football. I've also captained pretty much every football team I've played since I was 16. So I
yeah,
kind of like I have always been in kind of a leadership role in those teams. And when we were playing in the UCD league in college, I was the captain. I was also the manager technically. So
yeah,
the way I always see it is like I literally never ever put a player down, regardless of what they've done or what they're doing. I'm always trying to kind of build them up a little bit.
yeah.
Like I'm always trying to make sure that people keep their confidence because at the end of the day, confidence plays such a massive factor, especially in football. So like, there was one bloke we had on our team who just would not pass the ball. Literally would never pass the ball. Like this guy would dribble past 3 players, right? But you could bet your life that the fourth player he tried to dribble past, he wouldn't get past him. So I walked over to him one day. I was like, "Listen, Abdul, come here. Like, you're a very skillful player. Like, you clearly, like, you must watch like Ronaldo or Neymar or something playing on YouTube. You watch those highlight videos, yeah?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, I watch those." And I was like, "Well, think about your football match like a highlight video. If you don't have an end product, that highlight's not a highlight. You have to
Yeah,
at least play a pass or take a shot or something. Like, if you miss that shot, the highlight is kind of dead. If you lose the
yeah,
ball at the end of your run, the highlight's kind of dead. You have to make sure that something comes out of it at the end." And
yeah.
that's the kind of way I'd always see it. As I would kind of trying to push people to improve, but in a good way. I'd kind of I'm not like Leonid Slutsky, but I'd hope to be
Yeah.
that more of a style of a manager than someone who's really like Mourinho or something. Although I do like Mourinho, I just it's not my
Yeah.
personality. What about you?
I don't know that is an inspirational little pep talk you give to man like Abdul there though. But
Thanks.
yeah, man, I don't know what type of manager I'd be, but I definitely would not be like a disciplinarian because I resent discipline. Like in school, I've always fought teachers and principals and all of that shit. So I'd never want to just never want anybody feeling restricted. I never want anybody feeling like, oh, there's a strict routine, work 8 hours a day, or you're not in the team. I don't even like managers like that. I don't like Gasparini because he, wants Miranchuk to play to the Atlanta style. I don't like that. Like, just the freedom is there. I think my style would be similar to yours, though. Um, Something I'd like try to be like that. I think on the touchline, I'd become like Tedesco
Hmm.
because in my mind, I want to be, a calm fella like Zidane, not even showing any emotion. But I tend to get pretty emotional during sporting events, so I'd probably just be doing jumping jacks on the touchline, shouting at referees. That would inevitably end up happening. But
That would be
yeah,
interesting to watch. Maybe one of these days we'll be able to both manage in the RPL, and we'll come up against each other and
yeah,
see what works and see what doesn't. But you know what? Like we both said that we'd be kind of laissez-faire, let's say,
yeah,
in our approach. But I do definitely think that there's a place for serious discipline in football, because a lot of players just don't resonate with, you know, facilitators. A lot of the best players will, but a lot of the players,
yeah.
like if you're working at a mid table team or something, that's gonna run you right into the ground. Really, like for example, I don't know if this is a good example, but let's say Rostov, right? Let's say Rostov. Um,
Yeah.
if you're gonna be kind of like Karpin, suppose he's got his tactics and stuff like that, but I wouldn't say he's the most strict manager out there in the world. He's not. He's definitely a far
Yeah.
fetched from their previous manager Berdev. So the way I'd see it is like with mid table players, you're not going to be able to get into kind of the top four without being super disciplined. But with players who are good enough to be in Europe every season already, it could bring the best out of them.
I do agree. I think Karpin is really strange because you have those RPG games. I may have said this before, right? And I think all of Karpin's stats are at 50. Like they're all just bang average. I don't see what Karpin's bad at, but there's nothing that he's good at. But I feel like in football, it's if the manager is just a good bloke, like if the manager is somebody you would hang out with, then I feel like the manager's a good manager. Because Slutsky by no means is a disciplinarian, right? You see him joking
Yeah,
around, being in music videos and so on, but his teams show up. That then like and people just like being around the guy. If you like being around someone, then obviously you'll find it easier to agree with what they do, what they say.
yeah,
Same with Zidane. Not only is he one of the best players ever, he just
yeah,
seems like a good fella to hang out with. Same with Sergei Samak. Rui Vittoria looks like the same, just the most wholesome guy in the world, right?
yeah,
So I feel like there's some dudes that just come in and try too hard to be disciplinarian, and it
yeah.
just ends up backfiring on them. Um,
I feel like I don't know. Like I like Karpin. Like I said, I don't like him as the Russia manager, but I like him in general. I think that he could maybe fill that role in the future. I just think it's way too early for him. In terms of Slutsky, like Slutsky, okay, yeah, he's. I think that his management, his people management is second to none. I think that he's the best man manager in football in this generation of managers. Not only in Russia but in Europe as well. I think that there's very few people who I think would even have a shout at being close to him. But he didn't just get there by being a good bloke. Like he is also super
yeah, of
knowledgeable.
course.
Like whenever you hear Slutsky speaking on TV or anything, like there's a reason people love hearing him as a commentator.
Yeah.
It's because like he looks at football such a different way, on top of being funny and nice. So it's really the perfect combination.
I think it's also really important to just not be stuck up and just try to be like the players, try to get to know them as people, try to sort of be equals with them,
Yeah,
like a lot of the new managers are. Like Tedesco, he was almost a player for the team, right? You see the guys he's hanging around with them. Leonid Slutsky is obviously the same, but there's just certain managers that come through and they like Mancini at Zenit. He was like above, like Driussi said in his farewell thing that I thought Mancini thought that he was
spoilers.
above all of us, right? Yes, spoiler alert. But a lot of managers tend to do that. I think Mourinho does that sometimes, and
Mm,
sometimes he just really likes players and you know they
I
perform well. But I think it's better if you're attempting to be an equal in the team.
I think open mindedness is a big thing in football,
Yeah.
but it's all got to come with balance though, because
Yeah,
if
of
you're
course.
too open minded, every game you're gonna switch your tactics. Like you
Yeah.
have to have some kind of open mindedness as well as a long term plan. So
Yeah.
yeah. Anyways, I feel like we've been on this topic for a while and we haven't even said anything about Karpin
We have,
himself.
yeah.
So like Hanu, how do you see this playing out? First, like you say it and then I'll give my opinion as well.
I think it'll play out okay. I think we'll lose a couple of the games, we'll win a couple of the games, like Rostov. I'm actually more worried about Rostov and what's
Yeah.
going to happen to them because they've just sort of been left in the dark. Um, but I don't think Carpenter will get the job permanently. I hope he doesn't get the job permanently. But I think that RFU has done something clever here, okay? But they need to back that up with a good appointment, a good permanent appointment next year. So right now I've got an open mind, but it can change.
Yeah. I get where you're coming from. I don't know. I don't see this one going well. I feel like definitely it's not going to go well for Rostov. I actually think Rostov are going to get killed in the league while he's the Russian manager.
Probably.
I feel like the Russia job is going to be taking up a lot of his time, not just international breaks. I feel like he's going to be, focused on that more than not more
Yeah.
than he should be because he should be focused on a full time. But having two full time jobs is not easy. So I think that Rostov will definitely struggle. And I think that even if he left Rostov to focus on the Russia team, I just can't see it going too well. I think it's possible that we'll miss out on the World Cup, which would be unfortunate. But what can you do?
What do you think of the concept though of juggling jobs? It's very football managerish, but like, what do you think of
I
it?
don't like
Especially
it.
when it's Russia. Yeah.
I don't like it. I think it's a bit. It's one of these things where, like, in theory, oh yeah, like you know, like the international break is when I'm not working anyway. But as a manager, you've also got to rest, and you know, because he's managing in the Russian league and the national team, there's so much like politics that's going to be in his
Yeah.
in his journey as Russian manager. Like already, like we talked about Zuba and Karpin, they don't like each other from back when Karpin was the manager of Spartak. There was a big controversy where apparently Zuba, stole someone's money. I think Karpin was on one end of it, basically against Zuba, and Zuba was like, "Fuck you, Karpin," said he was a shit manager and stuff like that. Now, saying that, you know, every manager that Zuba has said is a shit manager has ended up going on to do great things. Like
Yeah.
Emery, we've seen Mancini. So maybe that's actually exactly what the RFU were thinking. Maybe they saw my tweet about that and were like, Karpin.
He's
But
gonna win us the World Cup.
exactly, and if he does, look, fair play. But I don't know. I can't see it happening here, and I think that a lot of players have a loyalty to Zuba, especially after the World Cup. Um,
Yeah.
and I just don't think that the atmosphere would be the greatest. I think Karpin's got a lot to prove to the players before
Yeah.
they even get started. And I think that if, like, say if Zenit badly beat Rostov or something at this season, or say some Russian player scores a hat trick against Karpin, he's going to be expected to play.
Yeah.
But Karpin actually might have bad emotions towards that player because there's a lot of conflicts of interest at play, is what I'm trying to say.
It
So
is, yeah. And that's the thing, like you might be doing something that's just it has no agenda behind it, but people will try to spin stories out of it.
yeah,
And
exactly.
like managing two Twitter accounts is stressful. So I can't imagine being the coach of a country as big as Russia and Rostov, who are also ambitious, right? So I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, good luck to him. He said in one of his interviews that I told my kids you don't have a dad for 6 months, and I told my wife you don't have a husband for 6 months. Like he said that. So
well,
like
look, fair play, Valery. Like, wish
yeah,
you all the best from the whatever this is podcast. Your team wears yellow, our crest is yellow, respect.
Yeah.
But just don't let us down, please. We
Yeah.
genuinely we wish that you do unreal.
What
So
if he gets sacked, by the way? Like, what if Rostov lose 7 of their first 7 games and he just gets sacked?
I think in that stage he probably wouldn't get sacked. I think what would happen is he'd probably say like, look, I want to focus on Russia. I think he'd leave before he got sacked, if that makes sense. I think if he saw it was going badly, he'd pick up.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. All right. What's our next topic? Is it Thomas Ron killing all of Lokomotiv?
We actually no, I don't have that open as a tab. We've got transfers, but we can talk about that in the transfers because it's transfer based.
All right. Yeah.
The first Hanu already spoilers. Hanu already spoiled this one. Um, Man like Driussi, this man here,
Yeah. He's gone.
he's gone.
He's gone. And now some right, some are making the case. Kai Connell specifically is making the case that he's a rat, and I'll present the case on behalf of Kai Connell
Please,
because I'm inclined. I can see where he's coming from, right? So what he's saying is right. First of all, this guy broke his own contract. He paid apparently 6 million euros to
yeah,
break his own contract at Zenit, right? To a club, we don't know what club he's going to. He just left, right? He was playing reluctantly. Last year, he had a whole rant about him not wanting to play at left wing and whatever that was, and want to play up front. I want to go back to River Plate, right? He has shown displeasure for the club, sort of disrespected them, if you want to say that. He's done that before. And he was, now you obviously really liked him. His first season or second season, I think he was really good. Since then, he's fallen off. But the way Zenit have sort of treated his departure, is it if it's like a club hero that's left them, lots of sentimental videos, all the players are doing their stuff, and it's being made to seem like some really big player left to some massive club, and we're all sad. Whereas he just broke his own contract and fucked off because he didn't want to be here anymore. So, do you think Driussi is a rat? And how
no,
will you look upon his time in St. Petersburg?
I don't think he's a rat, not even a little bit. Um, I get the points, but at the end of the day, look, he has a position that he wants to play in, like, and he's not been played there in 3 or 4 years, and for despite all the rumors and all him coming out and saying like, oh, I wouldn't mind going back to River Plate, I want to go back there, I miss Argentina, all that kind of stuff. Despite all of that, every single time he stepped on the pitch, he never gave less than 100%. Every single time if you ever watch Driussi live, you could see him doing so much of the dirty work that other players just wouldn't do. Like,
Yeah.
he genuinely, like, he gave it his all, every single time, and for that reason, I cannot, I can't fault him whatsoever. Like, if you look at what Vlasic is doing right now at CSKA, he's sitting out, and whether that's because of Berezutski or because of Vlasic doesn't matter. Something is the reason that he's sitting out, and it's because he wants to transfer, right?
Yeah.
With Driussi, you would have never even known. If you didn't look at the news, you would have never ever known that, because every single time he
Yeah.
played, he gave it his all. So, for that reason, I absolutely wish him well, and just absolutely respect. Like, the reason I think that he broke his contract instead of signing properly is because of there's some kind of rules in the MLS, isn't there? Like, that's where he seems to be going. There's some rules with obviously wages, and I think there's some rules with budgets and stuff like that. So technically, if they had paid him a bonus or whatever for a signing on bonus, it doesn't count as a transfer fee, which he would have paid a fee out of. Like, there's no way he went out of pocket for that. So
Yeah, no.
that's the way I see it. Like, that's just my perspective on it. And I think that, look, yeah, they're making it out to be like he's a legend. He's probably not a
Yeah.
club legend, but he is a very memorable player and someone who is kind of a cult hero.
Yeah, and I think with this, Mancini's Argentinian experiment is over. Didn't go that well.
Yeah,
but it gave us a lot of moments. Like Paredes was obviously a success.
yeah,
Rigoni is a cult favorite for me. Driussi is fine. Mamana is the obvious flop, along with Matthias Kranjvitter.
yeah.
What a guy! But yeah, that's Driussi. Um,
We'll move
and
on
it
to the man
seems
standing right behind him.
exactly. I was gonna say it's like the the man right behind him. Roma and Bayer. Oh wow, he tweeted that. Wow, I didn't see the Fabrizio tweet about that. But yeah, Bayer signed Lunev. It seems like they will sign another Zenit player. 18 million isn't bad, especially if his contract's expiring next year.
Yeah,
And I like this transfer. I think he's going to do very well in the Bundesliga. Everybody does well there, so I respect it. Um, he's
yeah,
nearing Russian football legend status. Been around for so long. Um, so yeah, I really hope he doesn't stay at Zenit. Like if he extends this contract, I'll be upset. Like that's sign of wimp behavior from me.
yeah. And,
If
and despite being a Zenit fan, I'm actually gonna completely agree with you. I think that Azmoun has gotten to his peak in Russian football. There's no peak past this peak. Like
yeah,
he can continue playing at this level for 5 more years and break every goal scoring record in the league if he wants. But that's not the way to make a career.
yeah,
He needs to go out and develop, and you know 18 million is a good deal for everybody. I think Zenit will be happy to take 18 million in the end. Obviously they're apparently holding out for 20 million to get 18 in the end, and they'll be happy.
hmm
It's a good move for Azmoun. Like you said, a lot of players do well in the Bundesliga, and Bayern are one of the better clubs there. So definitely something in there for him. Um, and Bayer are getting a fantastic player. I don't think you could get a striker as good as Sardar Azmoun for 18 million anywhere else. So,
yeah. No, I respect it. Hopefully, Lunev will help him, and he'll help Lunev. That'll be like a nice little.
oh, imagine
Um,
that'd be deadly.
yeah, that'll be, and it's been such a really nice window for Russian players moving abroad, man. Like some Ruben players moved to Croatia today. A
Yeah,
lot of guys is moving. You love to see it. You also love to see who Roma are gonna sign if they don't get Azmoun, and that's our boy, Eldor the Uzbek. He is, and man, he's probably my favorite player at the moment after Keylor Navas, obviously, because this fella moved from Rostov to Genoa, right? And I, of course, because I really like him, I expected him to do well. But his work rate, the way he's adapted to Italy, like everything is just exemplified how you should do things. And after just a season, he's going to Roma. Um, and with Mourinho, I think Mourinho can really help him because that picture as well came out today of him with Mourinho, which was hilarious. Um, but yeah, man, I think this is a great move for everybody. And thing with Genoa was that they were like the Arsenal Tula, maybe the UFA of Italy, where they don't really create much, really scummy team. But Roma, they're going to be on the front foot for most of the games, right? They're going to bring in the chances. They're going to get the ball to Eldor. And I think that could help him really play well. Um, and I read that Mourinho was the one that signed Goran Pandev in way back when, right? And he's had a great career. So, like, I'm excited, man. I hope this goes through. Won't be messy. What do you think?
yeah, me too. I actually don't have much to add on top of what you've said because you've covered it really well. Like he went to Genoa, and I didn't expect him to do as well as you did, but look, he's proven me wrong, I guess, and like he's just been fantastic, and it's been a real pleasure to watch his goals and the way he plays for Genoa. So, like,
Yeah.
although he's not a Russian player, he's in our hearts, and we hope that he goes to Roma, and we hope that he rips it up there as well.
Yeah, for sure. Um,
And then we have to talk about this as well, right? So we all knew about the Vlasic transfer to Milan. That was apparently going to happen. And Milan have been like 25 million. We'll pay it next year. You just loan them to it this year, and we have to pay them 25 million next year. Now that Zenit are losing Azmoun, it seems, and Driussi, they've got two foreigner spots open, and the fee that CSKA are looking for is exactly the amount of money that they'll get for the transfers of Azmoun and Driussi. Nikola Vlasic apparently has been contacted by Zenit, and I, as much as he's probably a great signing. I don't want him. I think that he's already like his dad has already made it clear that he wants to go abroad, and I think that if he was to move to Zenit, it would just be confirming everything we know already is that he's the best player in the league. But what does that actually achieve?
No, it achieves nothing. And Zenit, to be fair, I've been interested in him for like a year now. We heard this last window as well, and it's genuine interest.
Yeah,
And I don't really get it from Zenit because I feel like there's better. I mean, there's good players that you can get for cheaper and from abroad.
yeah.
And we haven't really seen too many inter RPL transfers this big ever. And I think he'll move to Milan. But if he ends up
What
going to
about what
Zenit,
about what about Alexander Kokorin from Dynamo to Angie for 19 million?
and then going back the next day
For
for
18
the
million.
19. Yeah.
Yeah,
But if he moves to Zenit, if that somehow ends up happening, I will lose every bit of respect I have for him. Like he's a fraud. He's an absolute fraud if he ends up going to Zenit, right?
I can't see it
A
happening.
fraud.
If I'm gonna be
I can't. Yeah.
entirely honest, I feel like it's coming to from his dad. I think that his dad is trying to be like, look, the talks have stalled with Milan. We need to resurrect them somehow and get this over the line.
Yeah.
So here's the news. Zenit want them. Maybe honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if he approached Zenit and said, look, he's available. And maybe Zenit did express their interest, but I feel like this is literally just a story to make the Milan transfer happen faster.
Could be. Yeah. I hope it isn't. I hope the transfer does end up going through. Um, but no, it would be a shame to see him. Not even Zenit. Like it would be a shame to see him come to Spartak. Or if Anzi were still alive, it would be a shame to just you could replace Zenit with any club and it would be a shame. But I
I
don't
don't
think it's
know. I
gonna
wouldn't mind them at Krilia.
happen. I mean, fair enough, but like, nah, fair enough, fair enough.
Yeah. So that
Um,
like I think they're mainly the transfers that have happened. I think we should go on to the Lokomotiv thing. I don't have a tab up for this one, unfortunately, guys. But
yeah. So
essentially, yeah. So Hanu, you explain.
yeah, so Rangnick and Thomas Zorn are now the chiefs at Lokomotiv, right?
Love Zorn.
Lokomotiv.
Zorn.
Um, I like Zorn. Spartak fans don't, and I get where they come from because he just bought a lot of players through, and we can't sell any of them, like the Italian and Malcolm Badu and people like that. Um, but I do respect his hustle. Like he just ends up at places. He keeps the bags coming. So I respect that. Um, but apparently what he's been doing is, and just the sheer way that this was worded in the Russian press was hilarious because it said that Thomas Zorn has been calling up RPL clubs and offering them a lot of Locos players. And that is just hilarious. Like this guy wakes up every morning, goes to the office, gets like this list of numbers out in front of him and just starts cold calling people. Like that's what I imagine is him cold calling like the receptionist at Krasnodar and asking them, "Hey, do you want to sign Fyodor Smolov?" And it probably is a lot more formal than that. But yeah, they're offering out everybody. They offered out Smolov, Barinov, Miranchuk, Krikoviak, Pablo, Murillo, everyone, like everybody. And it's not. I don't think it's because of FFP. I looked at their finances. They're all right. They just signed Yedvai for 4 million. They're paying Rangnick a lot of money. I don't think it's money issues. I genuinely think that those two people came to Russia, or this Zon is Russian, I guess, and they just thought, you know what, we're gonna this league is banter. We're gonna just flip it on our head, get all of these people out here, and I think it's gonna end up backfiring. And it seems like it's true. Like it would be a really weird thing to just make up. And Baranov's agent said that of course there's interest in our player. So like this is suicidal. This is suicidal from Lokomotiv. And they said that they don't want to keep around Marko Nikolic, which, like, I respect Marko Nikolic so much. Ever since he's come to Russia, everybody has just hated on him and nobody's wanted him. First, it was their Yuri Semen shagging fans that couldn't get themselves together for 5 months. Even more than that, like, until he went on that 11 game winning streak, which you can't deny, right? The fans wanted him out. Then the old board wasn't a fan of him. And now you've brought in these two frauds, these two fraud watch. They're on fraud watch for now, right? and they want him out because he doesn't play the football they want, and presumably because he's Serbian, and Rangnick doesn't have the connections with him, and they're gonna sack him at any point they can, and I really hate that. Like that's disrespectful. And
Yeah.
yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, the Nikolic thing is a little bit sour, for me. Like like you said, he's proven himself to be a very good manager. So it would be a shame to see him leave. Um, it's funny. I remember how much Stefano didn't want him when he had first
Yeah,
joined the Lokomotiv. Obviously, he wanted Sionen in, but then I saw one of his tweets earlier, and he was like, "How are we letting Nikolic go?" or something along those lines, and I was like, "Jesus, how the turntables." Um, but yeah, like that's the only one I think that really is sour for me though. Like Baronov, like he loves that club. It would be a real shame to see him leave Lokomotiv. But look, I'm open to have him at Zenit because Ozdoyev just got injured. I'd also
yeah.
be open to having Krakowiak if he wants to replace Ozdoyev for a couple of months for until the end of the season or something. But like to be honest, I think that all those players are replaceable, and if they want to do that, then sure, short time it might seem like suicide, but I think that next summer it will be a completely different story. I don't think it's going to be a long term issue.
I don't think so. I really like. I think there is no striker in Russia with the talent that Fedor Smolov has, and
I have been saying this for
like,
years, and
yeah,
for
I didn't
years,
say
I've been ridiculed. But
no. I've
the thing is, he's not as a peak anymore. Like as much as I love
he is
Smolov,
he's good, bro. He's started scoring again. Like I really think he's going to score 10 plus goals this season. Because there was a year, there was more than a year and a half where we would get excited when Smolov scored. Like, oh my God, Smolov scored. He was that bad. And now he scores like nearly every week, and we just sort of keep it moving. And
and you're
and I know
literally
at
getting
one
excited because he scored at the weekend.
no, I am, but like I'm not getting as excited as I would have a while ago, right? And I know at one point I
I don't know.
compared
It
him to
seems
Sylvester.
like it's you're saying you're not getting as excited as you would beforehand, but you're like one goal and you're like, that's it. He's got 10 plus for the season. I put him in my
No, but
fantasy team. He's my captain. That's it.
he's been good for a while now, though. That's the thing, right?
Yeah,
But no,
well,
there's no, yeah. But you signed Pablo in January and you want to sell him already.
yeah.
And you have Boris Rottenberg on your books, but you don't want to sell him. Like you're not offering him out to anybody. Which there's certain stuff that and I don't think they can rebuild a team like that now, especially now. Maybe they're just trying to sell everybody to see if one person can go. Anton Miranchuk, I would not mind seeing him go, but you need him for depth because he is talented. And I think Loco have a very good squad.
Yeah, yeah.
But it doesn't make sense to me, honestly. And if Nikolic left Loco, if I was Zenit, I would hire him because it's a very sensible appointment. Like the system, similar 4-4-2 Semak plays, right? He
But
knows the league. It won't be that, he'll
but
be
that
cheap.
at that point, I'd ask what would be the point of getting rid of Semak for someone who's so similar.
I think Nikolic is a better manager than Semak. I mean, yeah, of course, you can't get rid of him that easily. I still think the most sense.
If no, if I was told that Semak is leaving Zenit tomorrow, I wouldn't want Nikolic to replace him.
I don't know. I think I take it.
Of course you would. You're a Spartak fan.
No, I take it from a Zenit perspective.
I
But
wouldn't. I wouldn't. Zenit fans in the comments back me up here because I know that you wouldn't take it either. There's no way that anybody is out there saying, let's get rid of Semak and bring Nikolic in. I don't
to be
believe
fair,
it.
Samak's record against Nikolic is like really good. Like 9 goals scored and one conceded, something like that in the
There
last
you
two
go.
games. So, but yeah, nah, bro. The German fellas, Rangnick and them need to like start making a bit of sense here. Because I don't know if Jedva is exactly called Luca level. Might be.
But I think he's got
Then
longevity and he's solid. So like that's one of these things. It's like yeah, he might not be Corluca level, but like look, he's clearly a
yeah,
good player. He might be.
apparently they're going to sign ex Real Madrid player Omar Mascarell. as well, um, for the defensive midfield spot. But it is interesting. But I just think Thomas might be going a bit too far with it. So
I don't know.
yeah,
I'll be interested to see how it turns out. Like, I was praising their plan a couple of weeks ago, so I can't go now and say that if this is part of the plan, that it's wrong. If this is the way that they're going to implement it, I'm going to give them the chance they have. And although you might think that it's like you said, it's suicidal at the start, but I think long term it might be a smart idea. We'll see,
yeah. I guess time will tell.
as it always does. And
Does
first, we before we end this podcast, we want to give a shout out to two people in particular. First of all, is Ben. Shout out Ben for joining the league, and Reza as well. Shout out to Reza as well for both joining the league. So Mr.
yeah,
Spartak India wouldn't be last.
yeah. Um,
Pretty
yeah.
embarrassing.
It was. I'm upset. I really am. And I changed my fantasy this week. I've got Balbuena. Um, is that gonna load? No, it's not. So I put Balbuena and Samoshnikov in at the back for Evgenia and Terekov, and I swapped Kamano out for Arsen Zakharyan. My team isn't even bad. Like nobody can look at that team and say it's bad. It just didn't
No,
perform.
but that's the funniest
Yeah,
thing because every
yeah,
like this has happened 3 seasons in a row.
it
Oh my
has.
god, no way! You're first in India now. What the hell happened?
I don't know what happened. I didn't look at that though. See what happened there.
Yeah,
I
let's see
was
what
second
happened.
at the end of the game.
What the hell? Hey,
Oh, he got
what did?
20. Oh, he had a shock. India is not good at RPL fantasy.
This man had a Dogu.
Yeah. I don't know what. I don't know
Oh
what.
God, Christ.
I don't know what's going on there. But no, I had a really bad week. Um, to be fair, Artem, you didn't do too much better, but you pulled through like lower mid
Hang
table.
on, I did just as well as Ruben Kazan UK.
Yeah, I know Ruben Kazan UK didn't do too well either. Like we were all in the bottom four,
Yeah,
all in the relegation playoffs. Andrew Flint had a blinder.
he did.
Uh, Man like C Duffy had a blinder. Um, but yeah, one of these weeks my teams will show up, and um, yeah, they will, man. They will. I'm hoping this is the week, but you're always hoping that it's the week. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, what do you got?
I've made Zuba my captain this week. They're playing Rostov.
Yeah,
Karpin against Zuba, and I feel like it's not going to end well for Karpin. So hopefully, I'd love a Douglas Santos hat trick of assists with a hat trick of Zuba goals. That'd be my dream result here.
see, the funny thing is, I wouldn't mind that either because even though Sobolev is my intended captain, every time I go onto the team, it changes it to Zuba for some reason. I click save every time,
That's really
but
weird.
like every time, yeah, man, it's like Gazprom are controlling me again.
Have you
So
have you been using your PC or your phone to do this?
yeah, no, I've been using my PC. Look, I'm gonna go now. I'm literally on the Sports Audio page.
Yeah, I
Go
can
to
see it
my
in your
team,
glasses.
and I'm actually gonna. Oh no, Sobolev is my captain right now, but I have seen Zuba become it for absolutely no reason. But yeah, that's the fantasy thing.
Yeah, it's an interesting start to it. Actually, while people are listening, Ilya, one of our guests, the Lokomotiv fan, the Lokomotiv fan, the Lokomotiv special, by the way, is coming next week. He's gonna come on. He has he's created like almost like a cup sort of thing on top
Yeah,
of this league here. And originally it was with 16 teams, so it was really easy to organize. And then when it went to 17, he was like, "Okay, fuck's sake," but I can figure it out. And then I wonder what
yeah,
he's gonna do now with 18 and 19. That's gonna be fun to find out. But
yeah,
look, we'll keep people updated on that one as well. It should be interesting. The one that is gonna win the jersey is gonna be who wins this league. It's not gonna be the one who wins the cup.
yeah.
But it's just another thing to look out for. So keep yourselves interested in fantasy if you
I
like
hope.
if honestly you could probably stop playing now and probably still finish ahead of Hanu, but you know
Probably, really. No. But I hope, special
And
out to a couple of,
we still have to do our bets.
we did our best, didn't we?
Yeah, no, we have to
I
do
don't
them on
even,
camera so that
actually,
they're
I,
legit.
I forgot the third one already.
We didn't
So
have a third one. I've forgotten the first two.
first one was fantasy.
The first one's fantasy.
Uh,
Okay, shake on it.
whoever wins between us.
Shake my hand.
Um, yeah. But second one was me betting that Zenit won't win the league, and you just agreed with it.
Oh yeah,
So
okay,
fair
shake
enough.
that one as well.
Yeah. So yeah, okay, perfect. And third one, we don't have one yet. So in the comments, actually, if you have a good bet for us,
Yeah,
let us know.
definitely. Yeah,
Um,
if there's something you think could be close, like for example, like Hanu there, he said that Smolov would score 10 goals this season. Like I'd be willing to get bet against that if you wanted to do that. I honestly it would be a win-win for me because
yeah,
if Smolov does do it, then I'm delighted for him, and if he doesn't, then I win a fiver. So,
yeah,
but yeah, like people, if you have any suggestions for bets, me and Hanu are looking to do one more just so someone's lost and someone's won at the end of the season.
yeah.
That pretty much it we have for this week.
That is, yeah. I just want to shout out the Musaji's mentality monsters because that name makes me crack up every time.
So good.
Uh, and he did pretty well. He
He
did
did.
pretty well, to be fair to him.
He did.
Um,
It's
so yeah,
every team I look at that did well, it was always just a fun of a goal.
yeah. I bet against Safonov. Like, I think that game was taking place, and I was like, I really hope Safonov has a shocking game, and he saved a penalty in the first half. So I was
Yeah,
like, okay, that's
I'm not gonna
that's my
lie.
week.
When that penalty was given, I was like, he's gonna save it. I don't know what told me that, but I was like, this is gonna be what saves my fantasy team this week, and it did. So I've kept him in for the moment because Krasnodar are playing against Himki, so hopefully another
Mm,
penalty saved.
yeah. I was thinking of taking Lantratov out, but I chose not to because he might show up.
He might, but he's also pretty likely to concede. Got a lot of good players up there.
Yeah.
But anyways, guys, if you did enjoy this podcast, as always, leave a thumbs up. Um, any comments you have about anything we discussed in this podcast, let us know what you think of Karpin's appointment. Let us know what you think of the RPL games this week. Let us know, like, who you think is going to win the Fantasy League, whatever. Like, absolutely anything. We're always happy to discuss. And I guess that's about it. Hanu, pleasure as always. We'll see you all
Pleasure.
next week.